Chapter 8. It couldn't be. I want to know how come you're not dead, I demanded idiotically. Louis/Felix laughed. It was that same carefree abandon as before. Then he winked at me. You got a couple of minutes? He asked, indicating the door to the outside. That wasn't what I meant. I said so. Holly helped. He asked about Kent. Kent's dead, was the uncarefree reply. I know that. He died on Banshee, but He didn't die on Banshee. He died on the Terra. We looked at each other. I went this time. Felix? Is it Felix? He nodded. Of course. We thought Kent killed you. He frowned. He saved me. They killed him. Who? Fleet, he said in a dead voice, and knelt down to fiddle with the suit. It had sprung, spread-eagled open, off the wheelchair onto the floor. In a hurried voice, Holly told him what we meant, why we had thought what we thought. When we got to the part about immersing, Felix cringed. You really did that? You went through the whole thing with me? Holly said we had. Except between drops, but everything in the suit. Felix shuddered. Still. He shuddered again, made an effort to regain his former humor. I hope you guys had more fun than I did, he said, and laughed. We didn't know what to say. We didn't want to say anything, but we had to know. Ollie told him about being there when Kent had struck him, and then everything going blank, the alpha readings dropping out of sight. Felix smiled. I can see your problem, but all that happened was that Kent popped my suit when he hit me. I guess he was afraid I would struggle or something, as if it would have made any difference. Damn, but that man was strong. We nodded, watching in silence as he continued to both talk and work the suit. Then he put me in a ship. He'd stolen it from someone From Allie? Holly prompted. Felix looked at him, surprised. Then he nodded slowly. That's right. You know everything. The whole story. Everything in the suit, he said. Felix nodded back. He took the cigarette out of his mouth and regarded it lovingly. Then he tossed it away. Kent put me on the ship and sent me off, still in his armor the whole time. When they tried to find out what was going on, he blocked them. Felix stared, remembering. His voice was very quiet when next he spoke. I saw what happened from the port. They cut him in half. He shrugged, almost violently. But I was long gone by then. To hear. And all this time? I wondered aloud. He smiled. All this time. Have I got water? I notice I've got everything else. Ollie nodded. Fully operational. I looked at him. Why? He blushed, looked at Felix. I suppose you think that's sick. Felix grinned, then laughed, then giggled wildly, almost falling over. Ollie, how the hell would I know? Then he lay down in the suit, and it closed over him. Then they both stood up. It was terrifying. Is it all right? Holly stuttered. The black helmet nodded. The amplified voice was harsh and deep. It echoed loudly.
It hurts. I'm out of shape.
He walked loudly and heavily over to the seal and paused with a huge black finger poised over the panel.
Just key it open?
Holly nodded. I tried to pull myself up, slip back down. Felix?
What?
Boomed back, not unpleasantly. Nothing. Later,
Later.
he echoed. I couldn't read it. He sighed loudly, electronically.
I wish you could smoke in here.
Then he pushed the key and the door opened, and he was gone. We heard the blast begin almost at once. The door, set to close behind him, cut out everything afterward. "Come on!" shrilled Holly, stumbling across the floor to the control room. "I want to see!" I followed. So did I. It took us a long time to clamber inside and get the panel working. Our own monitors were long evaporated by battle, and Borglin had cut us off before, so we missed a lot of it. But Holly managed to jump into Borglin's signal anyway. We tried several angles, but none of them got what we wanted. Finally, we managed to get our old perspective from the monitor over Borglin's shoulder. We could see what he could see. It was incredible. It was great. Felix was incredible. He was everywhere at once. Borglin couldn't keep track of him cleanly from his monitors. There were just scattered images, bodies flying through the air, blaze bombs or grenades exploding with no one around, blazers cutting off abruptly, shattered and bent. Felix steaming right at the monitor as he reached the edge of the river and leaped across it, all 20-something meters of it. Then the main camp scurrying about and the mortars going off and somebody yelling in a high-pitched, strident tone of growing terror that there were no targets. Where the hell was he? And, oh my God, there! Felix was great. Borglin, on the other hand, was terrified. "Lift! Lift, goddammit!" he yelled to one and all, and the coyote began to rise. One of his henchmen in the control room with him said something about running scared and the sumbitch not being able to hurt a starship anyway. Borglin hit him, a loud backhanded smack across the face. "You said he'd never get across the river! Lift!" But then the ship was already rising, a few meters up already, and then I heard Holly hiss beside me. "No!" As we both saw the black suit still coming, loping incredibly fast across the ground. And I knew what he meant. I knew what he feared. And Borglin knew what to do. "All tacticals!" he yelled to unseen crew around him. "Discharge them all at once! Now!" On the screens, the wall of fire blocked the sight of everything as it swept down across the camp, boiling the mortars and the commandos and the land and everything else. Then the view was eclipsed by interference as the coyote vaulted suddenly upward into sanctioned sky. I just sat there. But Holly evidently could not. He began to furiously work the keys, trying blindly, desperately, to restore our view. He almost got it a couple of times, though not well and not clearly, and our fix on the monitor we wanted was clearly lost. We got random snowy pictures from all over the ship, corridors, and bulkheads. No sound, no pattern, and no hope. The ship was pulling out of our range. But that was the least of it anyway. I reached a hand over and lay it gently on Holly's. I couldn't stand to see him torture himself, or me, by trying for. He went stiff when the screen went sharp and clear. I looked where he looked. The image was from the outer port side monitor. It showed the length of the outer hull illuminated against the backdrop of daytime sanction. And silhouetted against that, right in the center of it, the black suit had one plasteel hand gripped vice-tight on a warp bleeder conduit. The other was clenched into a black fist that hurled toward the monitor's single eye. And then, all was dark.